Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 6 KAC 1104A. We are going to present about international trade. So, before we start, we will introduce ourselves.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Amalina Binti Nazarudin. My matrix number is 2020626158.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hi everyone. My name is Siti Khadijah binti Hamdan, and my matric number is 2020891774.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Syaza Batrisyia binti Hadi, and my student number is 2020887876.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurul Huda binti Muhammad Ghazali. My matrix number are 2020843182.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Atikah binti Muhammad Rizal with the matric number of 2020620288.
International trade. International trade refers to the government and individual activities on the exchange of capital, goods and services across international border or territories. However, due to the immobility or factor of production, international trade is mostly restricted to trade in goods and services. Therefore, we can say that international trade is as the exchange of goods and services between one country and another. In international market, we can find all kinds of products such as food, spare parts, mobile phones and currencies. Global trading also includes services such as tourism, banking, transportation and others. A product that our country sold to global market is called an export, while product that bought from global market is called an import. International trade take place because of the diversity in condition of production among countries. For example, tropical country produce bananas and papayas, while cold country produce grapes and strawberries. As the world economy is growing at an accelerating pace, any global event will affect domestic price through changes in supply and demand of import and export. Next, I will continue to advantage of international trade. First, international trade can increase in world output. Different countries have different production possibilities and different demands for product across boundaries. Specialization and division of labor enable country to produce more with the same resources than if they are to be self-sufficient and produce everything themselves. So, international trade make output increase because of import and export activities. Next, we can enjoy varieties of goods. Some countries have a surplus of certain goods to their needs, while other countries have deficit of goods. A country with a surplus in certain goods should export them to exchange for goods which are scarce. By trading globally with other countries, it gives consumers the opportunity to be exposed to a variety of goods and services that is not available in their countries. This will result in a higher living standard, and it is also allowed provision of previously unavailable products. For example, tropical countries enjoy temperature fruit such as strawberries. Enjoy economies of scale. By exporting abroad, a country is able to increase in market size. Industries will produce at a large scale and enjoy economies of scale as their average costs fall and profit increase. Higher income and higher rate of economic growth. International trade generate higher income and brings economic growth. When the demand for export rise, the expansion of production creates more employment and stimulate economic growth. So, fresh graduates have a lot of opportunity work based on their skill. There is no more unemployment at this moment. Last but not least is earn foreign exchange. A country will be able to earn foreign exchange when it exports goods. This helps the country to pay for its import and settle its debts. Moreover, the currencies of other countries are higher than our country. So, it allows our country to recover the debt incurred.
Although international trade helps to increase the exchange of goods and services of a country, there are also limitations or restrictions to the trading activities in this trade. These restrictions, which are implemented by every country, are known as protectionism. Protectionism can also be known as barriers that are imposed by a country on the free flow of the goods and services in order to protect its domestic industries. There are 5 kinds of protectionism tools that can be used by the government of the country in order to protect its domestic industries, which are tariff, quota, subsidies on export, exchange control, and embargo. So now we will look at it one by one. So the first one is tariff. Tariff is the first instrument used by the government to protect the local industries. Tariff itself refers to the taxes imposed on imports. When tariff is imposed on the imported goods, the price of these goods will become more expensive and it will lead to a decrease in the consumption of the imported goods by the households. The second one is quota. Quota is the restriction or limitation on the volume of imported goods. For example, when the government limits the import of certain goods, it will put pressure on the price of those goods. So it will result in a price increase. Because of that, the demand for the imported goods is expected to decrease since they have become more expensive. Next, the third one is subsidies on export. This is said to be the most positive way to implement the protectionism. It is because the local producers will receive subsidies from the government to produce goods and services to be exported to other countries. These subsidies will encourage the exports to be more competitive because it will help to reduce the price of goods and services. The fourth one is exchange control. This situation occurs when the government wants to restrict the supply of foreign currencies in the country. So, in order to import goods and services from other countries, payments have to be made using the currencies. So, by doing this, we can control the availability of foreign currencies in the country, and it can be effective in restricting the amount of imports into the country itself. Finally, the last one is embargo. Embargo is considered as a direct control by the government of a country itself to prohibit certain goods and services from entering the country. So sometimes the government may ban some items from other countries based on different theories.
There are 5 reasons for protectionism. First is to protect the environment. Some countries may protect themselves from trade to help limit damage to their environment, such as carbon dioxide emissions that caused by production and transportation. Second is to increase in government revenue. The imposition of some protectionism tool will raise revenue for the government, such as taxes and tariff. Third, to protect consumers from unsafe products. Consumers are usually unaware of the quality and safety of the product they consume. Therefore, we have the government to make sure the products are safe. For example, the car must pass safety inspection. Fourth is to diversify the economy. This is to prevent the country from depending on one sector only. With the implementation of certain restrictions, the local producer will have to diversify their goods for the domestic market, creating a wide range of goods rather than focusing on producing certain goods only. And lastly, to create more job opportunities. Through protectionism, local producers tend to produce more goods and services. This will create more job opportunities in the economy as the production of goods and services has increased.
Okay, now we will proceed with the definition of exchange rate, appreciation, depreciation and devaluation. So, what is exchange rate? Exchange rate is price of one currency in terms of another currency. This is determined by the relative price of trade commodities, which is rate of inflation. It helps to ensure the equality in the purchasing power among two or more regions. For example, how many US dollar to buy €1? Next, what is appreciation? Appreciation is when demand for currency rise relative to supply in the floating exchange regime, the exchange rate will increase. This means the appreciation directly linked to the demand. If the value currency increase, the demand and the exchange rate for the currency also increase. For example, if the first rate of exchange is 1 and after 1 month the exchange rate become 1.15, that means the currency has increased by 15%. For the depreciation, it is opposite appreciation. Depreciation is when demand for currency falls relative to supply in the floating exchange regime, the exchange rate will decrease. If the value of currency decrease, the demand and exchange rate of currency will also decrease. For example, in January, the exchange rate is 1.2 and after 1 month, which is on February, the exchange rate become 1. That means the currency has decreased by 20%. Okay, what is devaluation? Okay, devaluation is when monetary authority lower the external value of currency to a lower fixed parity. Monetary authority, we can assume it as Central Bank of Malaysia. In the simple meaning is the country itself make a decision to lower its currency under fixed exchange rate. Devaluation and depreciation seem similar because both of them involve lower the currency, but for the depreciation it happened because of market force, while for the devaluation it was planned by the government.
Now, let's see exchange rate system. First of all, we have fixed exchange rate, which is divided into the gold standard and also Bretton Woods system. For your information, the gold standard is the main exchange rate system in the world of economies. When it called it as the gold standard, the trading country need to fix the prices of their domestic currencies in terms of specified amount of gold at a fixed price. What I mean is, the country have to know how much money in their country to change in terms of 1 ounce of gold. Easy to say, the country must define its currency in terms of quantity of gold, maintain a fixed relationship between its stock of gold and also its money supply, and lastly, they must allow gold to be freely exported and imported. Bretton Woods system. In this system, countries must change their currency into the US dollar instead of gold. So they have to change their money into dollar, and then the US dollar will directly be changed to gold, which means to the 1 ounce of gold. The United States government already guaranteed that it will freely convert to dollar, and they hope that this will encourage the country to hold the USD as their major reserve currency. As we can see here, and as I have mentioned already, if the USD were freely convertible into gold, which means the USD were good as gold. And because of that, all the country are continued to peg the currency to the US dollar. Now, let's say fixed exchange rate regime. It means the government itself fixes the external value of its currency in relation to other countries. A revaluation happens when the monetary itself, or we call it as Ministry of Finance, raise the external value of the currency to a higher fixed equality, whereas devaluation happen the opposite side. Advantages of fixed exchange rate regime is the international financial system will ensure certainty and also stability. Not to forget, it will enhance the development of the international trade itself, and also the discourages speculation of national country can change the fluctuation in the value of the currency. The disadvantages of fixed exchange rate is if there is no equality, it may cause the currency itself to be overvalued or undervalued, which could harm the economy. Second is a deficit country will face a severe deflationary cost of loss of output, and also it will rise the unemployment. But for the surplus country, it will import the inflation. I mean, it will rise the inflation in the country. So for now, floating exchange rate. These rates actually are determined by the market supply and demand of the country's currency. And for example, as we all know, imports generate supply of pounds. And this is because the British trading company has to pay the import in foreign country's currency. And if the demand for import is price elastic, so it will lead to an increasing of the sterling pound exchange rate, and the exchange rate will actually lower the sterling pound price of import, which means in this situation, British consumer will likely to purchase more on imports, goods and services. Hence, this situation will actually resulting in upward sloping supply curve of pounds. So for the second situation is when the British exports are priced in pound sterling. So every country which imports British goods, they have to actually pay the goods in pound sterling. And when the exchange rate of pound sterling become lower, every country compete in the British exports. And when every country is compete in the British exports, it will lead to the greater demand for pounds, and it will actually this will lead to the downward sloping demand curve for pounds. The advantages of floating exchange rate is the market forces are able to adjust the floating exchange rate to an equilibrium exchange rate, which means the exchange rate should never be overvalued or undervalued for a very long time. And the second one is the floating exchange rate should respond and adjust to slow changes in demand and also comparative advantage. The disadvantages of floating exchange rate is the volatility and instability that caused by floating exchange rate will reduce the volume of international trade because we never know how much the future exchange rate will change in the future. Second is the exchange rate are so vulnerable to speculative capital movement, and this will lead to the fail of reflect correctly to the trading competitiveness.
That's all from us. Thank you.